Hey, 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 welcome to the Create Zoo group, where we provide stimulating discussion that focuses on current events, relevant topics in our society, and some of your personal experiences. So today I wanted to talk about some changes that's happening in Louisiana. You know, Louisiana has a new Republican governor, and we want to congratulate Governor Landry for his insightfulness, for the way that he's tackling issues. He's not sitting down waiting on anything, he's moving forward. Implementing a lot of changes that I believe is going to have a great impact on the state of Louisiana, and it's also going to help Louisiana grow and hopefully be one of those go-to states where that people are going to look to move to, because businesses are improving the current businesses that they have, and also new businesses would be attracted to the Bayou State. There is an issue, though, that was recently put forth that Governor Landry he decided to veto something that the BESE board, the Board of Education, had put forth as it relates to promotions, graduations, EOC testing, LEAP testing. So I guess one of the questions to get this discussion kicked off, I want to ask a question. Do you think Louisiana should join the other 49 states and allow for an appeal process when a student fails an end of course test needed for graduation? And I think a lot of the states across the U.S. they have some type of standardized test that they use to determine, if that child is going, if that student rather is going to the next grade level, and of course. If they are juniors and seniors in high school, what their prospect looks like to graduate. One of the things that I'm a product. Let me pause for a minute. I am a product of Louisiana. I currently live in the state of Texas. I have lived in California. I have lived in Arizona. I have lived in the state of Michigan. Came back to Louisiana, and now my husband and I reside in Texas. However, I still have grandchildren, and I have family members that live in Louisiana. So I do keep a close eye on what's going on in Louisiana. And my grandchildren that reside there, they range from elementary school, preschool, elementary, middle school. One is about to go to high school that lives in Louisiana. So I'm keeping a close eye on the education and what level of education that they are receiving in Louisiana. So that kind of sets a little of the groundwork or basis of why I'm concerned about this executive order that Governor Landry has put forth. I believe it was with great intentions, or I'm not sure what its intentions specifically were, but I believe that his intention is to raise the bar of the educational structure in Louisiana. I personally, when I lived there, was sick of hearing that we were the lowest or at the very bottom of everything when it came to our students. I just think they deserve more. However, there is another side to that. So I'm not saying that I don't agree with Governor Landry in his actions, because I think that they were very warranted, because it's going to force us to just set that bar higher. But at the same token, we got to look at our schools that are failing and those schools that are just mediocre. They're not putting forth the effort to even raise their school scores. So I think about that as well. What challenges or what demands are we going to put on the teachers and administrators and the superintendents of these districts to really get down at it and raise these school report card scores and other things. So that's a whole different topic. But we want to talk about this executive order. So on January 8th, 2024, the governor, by executive order, he vetoed the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education's new policy establishing an appeals process for qualifying high school seniors who do not meet the state's LEAP test scoring requirements for graduation. So we commonly call that board the BESE board. So Louisiana is one of only 8 states that require students to pass a standardized test to graduate high school, and it is the only state that does not allow students to appeal a failed EOC test. And let me tell you what an EOC is. That's an end of course test. So let me go back. Louisiana is the only state that does not allow students to appeal a failed EOC test. So to earn their diploma, the students must continue take the test until they pass, because there's no longer an appeal process there. So they have to keep taking this test over and over until they get it right. Now, on one hand, I see why he would put that in place, because if you can't, and a lot of times these standardized tests is looking for just the core knowledge or the core competency skills. So I can see why, if you can't just pass the basic, why should we pass you on to go to college or to just go out into the world or try to survive on maybe a job or find a job? But then on the other hand, what happens to those students that are they just are maybe not good test takers? I don't know if that's still something that, an excuse that we could use or a thought process that we can use. But some of those students are just going to they're going to get frustrated. They might even feel like, hey, I got to keep going back into the classroom. I was expected to graduate, and their self-esteem just gets low, and they might start to feel humiliated, and then they just eventually drop out. So I guess there are a few things that we think about. It's like, how is this going to impact the student itself? Will there be some supports and services put in place if they do fail these tests that will help them raise the bar, get up to par with what they need in order to graduate? I mean, I just have a lot of questions there. Like I said, I understand the concept that Louisiana is trying to make improvements and not be at the very bottom, but sometimes I think that this might even push them even lower, or in some cases push some students out because they just can't do it. So those are some of my questions. So how is this going to make an impact on their lives for the future? Because they got to think about, can I take care of myself? So will I be able to get a job? And in most cases, a decent paying job is going to require not only a high school diploma, but it's also going to, require some coursework outside of just the high school diploma, whether that's going to a trade school or whether that's going to get a certification, a specific skill certification, or going to a college or university to get a 4-year degree or a 5-year degree. So I think about the overall impact of those students that will be impacted by this that may not pass that LEAP test or that end of course testing. So we have to think about, where are we putting them? Are we setting them up for failure? Are we leading them to get on welfare programs, which I believe those are going to be cut drastically also. So it pushes them into poverty when you can't get that high school diploma. That high school diploma is like a key to a whole nother world. So that is the very first and foremost issue that's related to that executive order. And then the second piece of that is concerning students that may have disabilities. So while the April Dunn Act of 2014 allows for students with disabilities with an individualized education plan, we normally call that an IEP, to graduate through an alternative pathway. There are many students that do have disabilities who don't have an IEP that struggle to pass that EOC test due to their disabilities. So that's the second thing that I want you all to think about when it relates to this executive order. Those students that or in school, they haven't been identified with an exceptionality in order to get an IEP. So some of the advocacy groups and some of the families are saying that rather than investing in substantial efforts to improve teaching and learning, Louisiana has created or is creating a system that values end of course testing and LEAP testing as the cure for all their problems. Well, I don't think it's the cure for all the problems, but you have to start somewhere. They're just saying, should we start here? Because it's going to be like a rude awakening. This is the second semester. This is the semester that normally those testing tests rather, or the teachers are preparing the students in order to take those tests. So it's a lot of pressure already to make sure that you have all of the requirements that you need for graduation, but also at the same time, this just puts an added stressor on some of the students and families because they don't have another option. You either pass it or you got to go back and take it over. So there's no appeals options there to do that. So if you think that this executive order that was put out by Governor Landry is going to impact students that you know or your family members, I want you to sit down and have a serious discussion with your student. Let them know what's going on and let them know how important it is to get focused and stay focused. They should already be focused, especially if they're planning to graduate in the spring. So this is something serious. This is something that I want parents and guardians to really look at and have conversations with their students, as well as with the teachers and administrators, to find all the support that you can find. I know that in every district, and I would dare say every district, I believe this is to be true, that there are parent resource centers. In those parent resource centers, they normally have retired educators or paraprofessionals that work there that can help you make resources, make and takes, also provide you with, skill building information that you can take home and work with your student to make sure that they're going to be successful on those tests. I would even ask for like old tests and maybe do some practice sessions at home. In your community or at some of your churches, you can have fun nights with testing or literacy nights. I know a lot of people are already doing that. And I know a lot of the districts have things in place as they approach the season of testing. So I would look for ways and things that's just going to reinforce the skills that these tests are requiring, and make sure that your student is not only prepared, but that they feel good about going into this season of testing. And like I said, if they're graduating, that they won't be so stressed out about it. But the conversation needs to happen. There are no more appeals that you can take. You either have to pass this test or you have to retake it. So those are the options. And then too, if you have a disabilities, you need to look into discussing, what that looks like, and how we can change that. So there's several advocacy groups within the state of Louisiana. They also have a network of parents that work with families that have children or youth with disabilities, and that's called Families Helping Families. So I would search out of Families Helping Families in your region to get more details on what this is going to look like. And then, of course, you elected officials, you elected BESE board representative. So I would try to find out who my BESE board member is, and I would definitely contact their office. I would ask them, hey, I need you all to do a town hall, or I need more information. I would contact my school district and ask the superintendent, what does this mean? And I'm quite sure that most of the school districts and the local, school agencies are going to send information out explaining to the parents. But I would definitely stay on top of this if I was a parent that lived in Louisiana, to see how this is going to impact my students. And I'm especially talking to my African American students because most of the time they get hit the hardest. And then you get a lot of calls, and you see a lot of news stations talking about this, and you see them in record numbers that are impacted the most with these executive orders. But like I say, you all be creative, start those conversations, even contact me and ask me, any resources that I know about. As I get resources, I'm going to try to, provide you all with that information. But definitely start researching and make sure that you have a firm grip on your child's education, and make sure that they have everything in alignment with what is required for them to do. So that's the topic for Create Zil Group today. I hope you all have a great remainder of the month and week. And as I get the information, I will share. Be sure to like this channel, share it out with everyone, and also hit that notification bell so when I come forth with new information, you'll be the first to know.